Good afternoon, everybody. Thank you for being here. We're here after yet another accident at a job site. Seems to me that there's been just an increase in the number of industrial construction type of incidents in Texas lately, be it a building collapse, a crane collapse, or any type of what I believe to be an avoidable incident. Hilda Cibrian and I represent 6 of the individuals that were just doing their job on the 7th floor of a building here in Midtown Houston. They were pouring concrete when suddenly and unexpectedly the floor collapsed. And the collapsed floor caused all of my clients, 4 of them are here, 2 of them could not be due to their injuries and ongoing medical treatment, which all of them have, but these 4 brave gentlemen are here today to stand up for what they think was a completely avoidable incident. They were told to do a job. The job was to go and pour concrete. They had been working at this job site for many months, not all of them, but the majority of them. And on the 29th of July, like I said, suddenly and unexpectedly, the floor collapsed. They fell at least 14 feet to the next level, which was level 6, and then debris collapsed on them. Several of them have broken bones. A few of them lost consciousness and are having memory issues, headaches, and our position here today is that these type of industrial or construction safety incidents need to stop. At some point, enough is enough. 6 of my clients and their families are lucky that they did not die. These men were up at a very high elevation, fell a significant distance, had debris fall on them. I personally have represented clients, or a client who lost his life in a building collapse around 6-7 years ago here in Houston. So I understand how dangerous these things can be. I'm going to pass it over to Hilda to give some follow-up comments, but I will say this, that these types of incidents do not happen without some type of engineering negligence, structural engineering negligence, or some type of architectural issue. A building is not supposed to collapse. Simple as that. I mean, in this day and age, structural engineering is far along enough that while men are working on the 7th floor, the structure should not collapse. Be happy to answer any specific questions. We do have a hearing set today at 2:30 in the 151st Judicial District Court of Harris County, where we will be seeking for a restraining order to be issued so that we can, number one, secure all the evidence at the scene because we don't have access to it, and number 2, gain access to the site. And that's what we'd be asking the judge to grant us. With that, I'm going to pass it over to my co-counsel Hilda. She's the one who's been dealing primarily with the clients and can also talk about their injuries in more detail. Thank you.
Thank you, Mo. As Mo stated, we are here with 4 of the 6 clients that we represent. They all suffered great and serious injuries. All of them fell through the roof 14 feet down. Some of them had concrete, debris, metal fall on them. And so they are currently being evaluated. They all were taken by ambulance to an emergency room. And their treatment will continue. And as you can imagine, they've suffered greatly. They're still suffering with post-traumatic stress. They're very shaken up about this. The paramedics stated that they were very lucky to be alive. Now, we believe that these sort of work-related accidents are avoidable, and an investigation will ensue. Obviously, a very detailed investigation will ensue to see exactly who the responsible parties are. And as Mo stated, it's real important when we're doing these investigations to preserve the evidence, and there is a hearing today at 2:30 in Judge Englehart's court. That's the 133rd District of Harris County. once again, we're here to ensure that our clients get justice in this case. One last thing that I'd like to say is that the statistics are alarming. Houston leads the nation in work-related accidents and deaths. Thank you.
Preliminarily, what have you all determined to be a causative factor or a failure in the support mechanism, support of that structure that they were pouring concrete onto?
I'll let Mo answer that.
Sure. So, given the fact we still don't have access to the site, based on what we do know, our preliminary understanding from talking to the clients, to our clients who had been at this job site for several months now, is that there may have been a missing beam, a missing support structure in the middle of the 7th floor that was going to hold up the floor. And that's where we believe it caved in. So preliminary investigation seems to suggest that there were some missing support structures or shoring, as we call it in these type of situations.
Was there like a safety officer on the scene, part of the team who, kind of ensures that, safe practices are done, with the contractor? And just what have they found at this point?
Yes, so what I can tell you is that the industry standard is that the general contractor and the premises owner is supposed to have a foreman, a safety foreman, if you will. That there was no such person or representative present at the time of this incident. My clients were told, hey, get up there, pour the concrete. That's all they were told. And that's what they did. So to answer your question, sir, there was no safety foreman at site when this incident happened.
Were your clients aware of the safety integrity of the building? Did they have issues prior to the accident?
So they had some indication that when they were working on the lower levels, that sometimes the structure would either feel unstable or it would make noises as if metal was crunching. And they raised that concern. The concern fell on deaf ears. And again, they were told, do your job, pour the concrete.
Were they using a concrete pump truck, to remotely, put the concrete in a place, and that structure was insufficient to hold that?
They were using a concrete pumped machine, sir. Obviously the structure was insufficient. We know that from what happened. So the question is, was that problem limited to the 7th floor, or had this issue been kind of brewing for a while and eventually came to a head as they got higher and higher?
And I'm not sure if we're able to hear from the workers in their own words or not. This was certainly a very scary ordeal that they went through, but what those moments were like right after the collapse happened, if they're able to describe it all for us, what they went through, what they saw, what they felt.
Sure, and I'll let Hilda describe kind of what she's gathered from them. When they are currently, they had some. They're just still traumatized. This happened a day and a half, day and a half ago, and they will talk about it at some point. But right now, they have explained to us kind of what they went through. One by one, we've interviewed them, and I'll let Hilda, Miss Cibrian, kind of convey what their experience was during the collapse.
Of course, thank you, Mo. We've talked to our clients, and we've actually seen video that our clients collected of the aftermath, and it was complete destruction. It was chaos. You could hear the alarms going off, the ambulance alarms. One of my clients took a panoramic shot, and then he also took a picture of himself. He was covered in dirt. He was completely scared. He mentioned that the top of the roof, the middle of the roof started to go in and cave down, and that's when everybody who was on the 7th floor was basically sucked into this hole, and they dropped 14 feet down. Some of them have had blood. They were laying on the floor completely confused, scared, and it was complete chaos. You could see bent metal, broken concrete, so it was a scene of destruction.
We do have, just to add on that, we do, from what I've gathered, is each and every one of them thought they were going to die. they really thought that this was the end of their lives, given what happened and how it happened. We do have pictures they took, we do have videos they took, we'd be happy to share those with you all. Some of them are graphic in nature, they show that some of my clients passed out unconscious and bloodied, but it was a very horrific ordeal.
Has OSHA been summoned to investigate this? I mean, they don't need any court order, they just come in and do their thing. Have they started their investigation preliminarily?
Based on the OSHA requirements, an investigation should begin because we have multiple workers going to the hospital.
Mm-hmm.
So then once you have multiple workers going to the hospital, even if there's no fatality, OSHA needs to step in. As far as I know, as of yesterday, there was no OSHA involvement. Now that might change if they need to contact our clients and take their interviews. We'd be happy to present them. But as far as I know, OSHA yet has not engaged the scene.
Can you expand on their injuries at all that they sustained?
Sure, go ahead, please.
Some of them have what we call TBI, traumatic brain injury. Most of these guys that fell suffered a hit to the head. There are exams or tests that are still pending to evaluate the level of head injury or head trauma that they've had. They also have neck injuries. They've stated that upon falling to the next level, their head hit the floor and bounced, causing serious neck injuries. Some of them have fractured bones, lacerations, stitches. A lot of them are having knee issues, back issues. The injuries are of a severe nature.
As attorneys, you have a thorough understanding of the concept, profit over people. Based upon your conversations with your clients, did that factor in here, or was this just a straight engineering negligence situation?
Yes, sir, and I think both of those things go hand in hand. The engineering or the structural engineering integrity of the structure should have been ensured before these men were sent in. Like I said, they had some concerns on the lower levels. The building at times felt somewhat unstable. That day, they heard noises which sounded like metal against metal crunching, and all of those concerns should have been were brought, fell on deaf ears. But as somebody mentioned, the premises owner needs to have safety personnel on site that supervise the contractors, because these men are not structural engineers. These men are not, they're not responsible for ensuring the integrity of a 7-story building in downtown Houston. They pour concrete. These guys are hard workers. That's all they've done most of their lives is pour concrete, and that's what they were doing. So yes, I do think there's some element of pushing these guys to get up there and do their job when obviously we know the building was not safe.
And when they made those initial, the issue with the 7th floor that they said that they had before, who did they make that complaint to? Was that to their direct supervisor, or who did they raise that to?
Yes, ma'am. So that a complaint, what my understanding is, was raised at different time frames. So they had been on, a combination of them had been at the job site for almost 6 months. And so once they started getting into the 2nd, 3rd, 4th level, there was some concern about stability. And so they raised it to the people who had contracted them, people at the scene. But for the most part, what I've learned is there was no go-to person. There was no, hey, this guy is the safety guy. We can just go tell him our concerns. It was just kind of, what my understanding is, to be somewhat of a disorganized job site.
So was that the Classic Construction Company and Builders or the Holiday Inn Express that they? I just want to make sure that I understand
Sure.
who they.
So these guys were they were contracted by Classic,
Okay.
but Holiday Inn Express and NAP Properties are the building owners.
Mm-hmm.
So ultimately, it's their building.
Right. So when they raised those concerns, though, it went to
Both,
both of them,
or at
Okay.
least what they thought were representatives of both.
Got it.
People on the scene. As far as the actual names of these people, what their titles are, that's something that we'll find out in discovery.
Hilda, do any of your clients have private health insurance?
No, they do not.
So to follow up on that, they don't have health insurance. They don't have workers' comp. Nobody's reached out to them to say, hey, listen, we know you guys were in this horrible incident. Can we do anything for you? A lot of times people say, hey, there's been an incident and these people have just went and hired lawyers. Okay? There's always some criticism. Somebody's out there saying, oh, well, this just happened a day and a half ago. Well, these men are all working men. They have families. They have kids sitting outside. You may or may not have seen them. They need to support their families, and they need to get medical treatment. They were taken to Ben Taub, given ER type of care. You know what? At Ben Taub is a great facility, but they're going to do what they have to do to stabilize you and then get you out of there. So some of these men sitting here right now have broken bones. Okay, I shook one of their hands and he winced in pain this morning. They need help, and that's where we come in immediately. They don't have insurance. They don't have any type of job benefits. They're not employees of Holiday Inn. So none of those type of benefits that you would see an employee of a large corporation who's injured. They just don't have those type of benefits.
What are you guys seeking in the lawsuit?
Well, sir, first of all, like I said, we're seeking preservation of evidence, access to the site, and then as the men get treatment and they recover, we're going to have we're seeking for them to be compensated for their injuries, which includes medical bills, lost time off work, as well as any psychological injuries they have received as a result of being in this incident.
And I want to add back to his question, our clients are still owed wages, so they have not been paid for some of the work that they completed.
Can you tell us more about the two that aren't here right now? You mentioned they've had severe injuries. Can you tell us? I mean, clearly they weren't able to be here today.
Yes, they weren't able to be here today. Their injuries are similar: traumatic brain injury, neck. We believe one of the gentlemen who he described his fall as a standing fall. He has injuries to the knees and to his elbows and wrists. He's very distraught as well. The other gentleman, I believe he fell on his back, and I met with him yesterday, and he could barely move. So after my meeting with him, he headed back to the ER because he couldn't sit, he couldn't stand, and he couldn't move.
Who do these guys work for?
So they work as a day labor crew, which is hired by Classic Construction as contractors.
And Classic Construction didn't have a workman's comp policy?
No, sir.
That covers it?
No, sir, because they're day laborers, they're contractors. So Classic Construction doesn't have workers' comp. They may have some for their own employees, but as far as the contractors are concerned, they're kind of like, hey, you get hurt on the job, you're on your own.
Do they have any type of safety training themselves?
So they have, obviously these men have done construction type of work over the years and have a lot of on-the-job training on cement work, okay? But what happened here was completely out of their control. So the collapse of any sort of training, at least on their part, would not have prevented this incident.
You say you get hurt on the job, you're on your own. Is that a legal practice? I mean, for a company to operate like that? These are human beings.
Yes, sir. I mean, it's unfortunately it's legal. It's not moral, but under Texas law, you can have an independent contractor. Mm-hmm. You can pay them their wages, and if they get hurt, you can just basically write them off like these guys have basically been written off.
But these men knew there was something wrong. Something was awry with the structure. And a safety foreman, had that person been on site, should have a reflective vest marked clearly, and maybe on the headgear, the hard hat, that he is there for them to raise safety concerns.
Yes, sir, absolutely.
That person wasn't there.
There was no such person present at the day of the incident, and these men knew that there were some unusual characteristics of that building. They never knew it was going to collapse.
Our clients did describe this project as a loose safety project. There weren't a lot of enforcement of safety procedures going on.
By law, if you hire somebody, a subcontractor, and he gets hurt on the job, who's responsible for his well-being?
Sure, it depends on the circumstances of the injury, sir. In this type of situation where you have a building collapse underneath the feet of the workers, the premises owner is primarily responsible.
Which don't they have insurance for all that?
Yes, sir, there will be insurance for the claim, but that's what we refer to as liability insurance. That's why we have to make a claim on it.
Somebody is going to speak Spanish.
Yes, he'll like
Sí, yo puedo contestar preguntas en español.
Ok, si nos puede dar una idea de lo que está ocurriendo con los trabajadores, cuál es la situación de ellos y el proceso legal que enfrentan ahora.
Claro, sabemos que hubieron varios lastimados cuando se derrumbó el séptimo piso iba a ser un Holiday Inn en el futuro. Mis clientes estuvieron allí, ellos estaban tirando concreto en el séptimo piso cuando se derrumbó. Específicamente, 9 personas fueron llevadas al hospital. Se cree que hasta 15 personas fueron las que están lastimadas. Hemos puesto una demanda en las cortes del distrito del condado de Harris. Ahora mismo a las 2:30 vamos a tener una audiencia para una orden de protección de emergencia que va a estar en la corte 133 del distrito de Texas a las 2:30. Nosotros estamos poniendo una demanda, un reclamo en nombre de nuestros clientes por sus lastimaduras, por su dolor y sufrimiento y cualquier otra pérdida que ellos hayan tenido al resultado de este incidente.
¿Cuál es la condición en la que están ellos?
Bueno, ellos no están en buenas condiciones, todos han sufrido lastimaduras serias. Emocionalmente esto ha sido un shock, ha sido un daño severo que se les ha causado. Estamos viendo que algunos de los clientes tienen trauma en la cabeza de golpe, ya que cayeron más de 14 pies a la plataforma. Unos tienen huesos quebrados, fracturados, y aún estamos viendo, ellos van a tener más exámenes para que podamos ver la magnitud de la lastimadura personal que cada uno tiene.
¿Para quiénes estaban trabajando ellos?
Bueno, ahorita nosotros estamos haciendo bien las investigaciones, pero estamos viendo que una posibilidad es Classic Construction.
¿Quién es responsable en un caso como este?
Pues ahorita se va a desenvolver una investigación que puede traer a varias personas responsables, ya sea el dueño de la propiedad, los ingenieros, los arquitectos, los inspectores. Ahorita todavía estamos viendo quiénes son las personas que van a ser últimamente responsables por este derrumbo.
¿Qué son los derechos de un trabajador? En este caso, como en este caso.
Bueno, ellos tienen el derecho de poner un reclamo contra las personas negligentes. El reclamo es para lastimadura personal, pérdidas de ingreso y lo que le llamamos dolores y prejuicios.
Eso es precisamente porque muchos trabajadores desconocen que tienen derechos.
Exactamente.
Porque ellos se sienten intimidados, tal vez por el hecho de que no están legalmente en el país y que apenas si pueden trabajar, ¿verdad?
Sí.
Entonces, ¿cuál es el mensaje que les gustaría enviar a los trabajadores?
El mensaje es que ellos tienen derechos. Si han sido víctimas de una negligencia, no dejen de poner un caso por miedo, porque tienen sus derechos y pues nosotros estamos el 100% aquí para ellos, para ayudarlos, para apoyarlos. La ley de Texas permite que las personas lastimadas puedan recuperar en una manera monetaria para recompensarlos por los daños severos que han sufrido y que van a continuar a sufrir.
Sin importar el estatus migratorio que tengan.
Correcto.
¿Qué es lo que sigue con los trabajadores en este momento? ¿Están recibiendo atención médica ellos?
Están recibiendo atención médica. Aún ellos van a ser examinados por un especialista o especialistas. Les van a dar otros exámenes diagnósticos que en realidad nos van a decir la magnitud de las lastimaduras. Como usted puede ver ahorita, ellos están ahorita muy estresados, están debajo de un trauma, ansiedad, pero fuera de lo emocional y de lo que la familia está pasando, ahorita unos de ellos, que como ustedes los miran aquí, tienen huesos quebrados, posiblemente lastimadura cerebral o lastimaduras ortopédicas.
No les han pagado el trabajo que hicieron.
No, aún les deben dinero por el trabajo que ya han hecho. Nadie les ha ofrecido, nadie les ha llamado a ayudarles para pagar biles médicos o pérdidas de ingreso o ingreso que se les debe.
Thank you.